Good afternoon, everybody. It's Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very, very glad you're with us. It's the first day of October. We're moving into the fourth quarter of the year. Weather's been nice, so I think fall is upon us right now. Please note this event will be recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name, comment, and picture to appear. For those people on Zoom, we ask that you go to the speaker view, which is in the lower left-hand corner, where you see the speaker on the right-hand side and the PowerPoint slide on the left-hand side. And where you see that red arrow, there's a couple little white lines. And for those people on a PC or Mac, you should be able to grab that and you can slide that back and forth if you want to make the speaker bigger or smaller. You can change the ratio by dragging that back and forth. If you have questions, we ask that you, for those on Zoom, please use the chat box. Put the questions in the chat box. That way we'll answer them as you know, when we take a break to do that. And for those people on Facebook, please just enter your questions in the comment field. I am monitoring that feed, and I'll make sure those questions get answered. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. Excuse me. I also wrote a book called Your Job Search, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. I facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I've been doing that since 2007, and I've been a member of the practice interview team since 2017. Our speaker today is Carol Brickell. She's a certified professional career coach. Carol, thank you for being with us, and take it away.
Great. Thank you, Jeff, for that introduction, and thank you for doing this week after week and day after day. We do certainly appreciate it. And I will share my screen, my presentation. And every week I always add new content, or we have a new guest speaker every week. So it's fun. And I'm going to get in presentation mode so that you can see my presentation. So welcome, everybody. We've got a good group today, and I see some familiar names, so welcome to everyone. And thanks for joining a couple minutes early for those that joined. And we already have 2 sample resumes that we'll be reviewing today, so thank you to those who have shared those. And we've designed this to be fun and interactive, so please hover over the lower part of your screen and click on the participant box so that we can participate. And if you could, click on the green check mark if you've seen one of these Resume Thursday sessions before, and click on the red X if you've never seen one of these Resume Thursday sessions. So click on the green check mark if you've seen one before, and a red X if you've never seen one. So we have at least one person or a couple people that have never seen this presentation before, and several that have. And that's why every week I do a little bit of research because it's a great topic. And I always add in new content, fresh content. And then every week we always show different resumes to walk through. And some weeks we have guest speakers, and next week we'll have another guest speaker, an executive who has been responsible for recruiting organizations. So good. And now I'd like for you to click on the chat box, and I will too. So if everybody could click on the chat box, you can use that throughout the session to submit any questions at any time. And when you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my second monitor and monitoring the chat and participant box. And to get us all warmed up and started, if everyone could go into chat and type in a number. How many pages is your resume? So if everybody could go in and type in a number. Good, good, thank you. And I see lots of 2s. 2 is kind of the sweet spot. When I talk to other recruiters, and you'll see my background, I've been a recruiter and other career coaches. 2 is kind of the sweet spot for professional people. If you're right out of college and have just had one job, 1 page might be appropriate. And also the other option is to create a 1-page executive bio that's a different type of document but for a detailed resume, two pages does tend to be the preference. Now, for some industries, such as higher education and government, they do require more details. So you might go into 3, 4, 5 pages. And I see some people have a 3-page resume. And in some cases, that's okay if you have a lot of experience or a lot of certifications, a lot of education, software skills, or whatever. So, and somebody said 3 for now. I think they're working on trying to condense it, because in the world of resumes and interviewing, less is more. Focus on quality, not quantity. Good. So, and then by way of introduction, a lot of you know my background. I've worked for many years at ATS, an IT company that was acquired by Hewlett Packard. And then I retired from there in 2012. And I felt a calling at that time to get a job as a recruiter, working on out in the cubicles with all the recruiters. And I got a great job as an agency recruiter. And then I had some experience doing some corporate recruiting. And then I went to work for Next Step Recruiting and retired last year, and just have devoted my time now to career coaching and serving as a volunteer for the practice interview team. And it's great that you're working on your resume, and it's equally, if not more important, to also work on your interview skills. So if you've never signed up to do an interview with the Dallas Pit Crew, I highly recommend that. And we will share, we will share contact information about the Pit Crew. And, somebody asked a good question. What does CPCC stand for? Certified Professional Career Coach. So thanks for asking that. Now, last year when I retired, and I've been kind of informally doing career coaching, I thought it might be good to get a certification. So I went through this wonderful organization, the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches, and got certified. And I had to go through a lot of training and talk to a mentor and take a 70-question essay test. But I had fun with that. And we've posted the contact information for the Dallas Pit Crew. I highly recommend that to refine your interview skills. And since I retired from recruiting at Next Step Recruiting, I keep closely in touch with my colleagues there. And they share with me every week what are their hottest jobs that they have open. And they do recruit for IT people, especially people that do coding. They have a lot of those kind of jobs. And then on the professional side, a lot of accounting, finance, HR types of positions. And these are some of the hot jobs right now. And so if you meet any of these requirements, or if you're an accountant, financial analyst, HR generalist, HR manager, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I can get you connected with the appropriate recruiter. But there's some neat jobs here: financial analyst, billing, accounts receivable person. There's a staff accountant position for healthcare practices, and then a credit collections supervisor and a digital marketing specialist. So some pretty cool jobs. If you meet any of these requirements or are an accountant especially, please reach out to me. And it's always beneficial to work with some recruiters. It's good to go on your own and network, but also, meet with some recruiters. They can give you good feedback about your resume and about the marketplace and your job search. And also they can advocate for you to hiring managers and get you to that top of the stack. So it's good to work with a couple of good recruiters. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. In the first part, we'll cover some content. We'll talk about applicant tracking systems. We review this information every week because it's pretty critical. And then my new content for the week is 10 resume tips you haven't heard before from Glassdoor. I discovered that they have some really nice articles. So I'm sharing some of their top 10 tips. Go into the participant box and give me a green check mark if you've ever utilized the Glassdoor website. You can search for jobs. You can search for some anecdotal salary information if you're looking for salary ranges. And you can also make comments about companies if you want to. I only recommend making positive comments out on social media. But yeah, so some people have used it and some haven't. If you haven't used it, you might want to check it out. Now, their salary information is a little more anecdotal. There are a couple of other websites if you're looking for typical pay ranges. like payscale.com and salaries.com can, add up more real data. So anyway, but I'll share some information from Glassdoor and talk about kind of a newer topic about how to fill a gap in your resume. And then we'll talk about key components of a resume. We'll pause for question and answer, and we've got 2 sample resumes we'll look at today. And once again, if you have any comments or questions, I keep looking to see if we have any comments or questions, feel free at any time. So regarding applicant tracking systems, these are the systems that you use when you apply online. And what they do is they read your resume and they parse the data, and they take pieces of data and put it into their database, like your name, your phone number, your email address, your job titles, skills, and they put it into the database. And you don't want to use special characters in the version of your resume that you upload into the applicant tracking system, because that can mess up the parsing process. And you don't want to use the header or footer part of MS Word in your resume, because it won't read that data, especially Workday works that way. And you do want to ensure that your resume includes keywords from the job description. We'll show some examples of that. And you can use tools such as jobscan.co to compare your resume to a job description to see how well you compare. And as a career coach, I work with people a lot on that as well. And if anybody knows of any other online tools where you can compare your resume to a job description and get an assessment, feel free to type that into chat. I know there are a couple of other tools out there as well. And then also applicant tracking systems often give you the opportunity to upload your resume as an attachment. And this is where you can choose. You can choose to upload your clean version that doesn't have any special formatting, or if you want to maintain 2 versions and have another version with boxes and underlines and fancy bullet points, you can if you wish. And with your resume as attachment, I recommend uploading a PDF version so it protects the formatting the way you want it to be seen, because if they have their margins set differently, they could see it differently. So PDF for your attachment. Now for the resume that you're submitting into the ATS system, it's actually better to do native MS Word because some systems like Workday has issues reading PDFs. So that's a lot to remember, but when you're uploading into the ATS, use MS Word. Your attachment, resume as attachment PDF. And somebody asked if I meant jobscan.com, and actually no, it's CO. So that's actually not a typo. Thank you for asking. And then also you have the option usually to enter a cover letter. I will tell you, as a recruiter, I never had time to look at those, because if I had 300 candidates and I was trying to look at just the top 10, maybe I would just click on the resumes. I didn't have time to look at the cover letter. But if you want to, look complete and check all the boxes, you can certainly do that. And we have a simple template you can use, and I just don't recommend spending a lot of time on that. And then how do you know if the job application uses an ATS or not? I think almost any time you're uploading, applying for a job online, there's some sort of system, some sort of applicant tracking system that is taking that data. So I think anytime you're applying online, it could be Workday, it could be Taleo, iSIMS, or other smaller systems. And somebody was asking me, when I'm looking at resumes, like when I was a corporate recruiter, typically we'd get 200 to 300 resumes, and I'd look at the top 10. The ATS system does sort them, usually based on keyword searches and then other parameters we may set as a company. And we also may have some screening questions that move people to the top. So it could be a variety of different factors that can cause your resume to get in that top 10. And I don't even mean top 10%, because that would be 30 resumes, and I never had time to look at 30. So, because when you're a recruiter, corporate recruiter, you're usually working on 15 different job orders, and so you don't have a lot of time. And then here's some extra guidance regarding one particular ATS system. Workday, which is an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System, has a an applicant tracking component. And I talked to a former colleague of mine who works as a consultant at Workday, and this is the advice he shared with me. And when you upload your resume, you often get the opportunity to review and correct the data. And the summary section may be accidentally put into your most recent job, so you may have to clean that up. And if your last name, if at the top of the resume you say comma MBA, that may get included in your name, and so you may need to clean that up. And then the header and footer won't get parsed, or it won't get read, in Workday especially. And then your LinkedIn URL on your resume should be pure text, not a hot link, because that'll throw off the reading of your data, of your the data in your resume. And then recruiters also can sort the list of candidates based on search criteria that they come up with, or based on company criteria. And then the candidates match, you know, how you're prioritized in the stack can be determined based on a questionnaire or maybe a third-party assessment. So there's a lot of things that can impact that. And be sure to customize your resume to the job, because not only is the ATS system looking for keyword matches, but the recruiter may take a quick look at it as well. And then, so we've talked a lot about the intricacies of these systems. And the main lesson really is each system is different. So you may hear conflicting data from different coaches about these systems, because they're all different, and each company can implement them differently with different parameters. So the big picture is really just upload a resume that's free from any special formatting, boxes, tables, underlines, fancy bullet points. You can use the default bullet, but no special formatting. And then take a quick review of the information that's been uploaded. Make sure your name is correct in there, that your most recent job is correct. And so look at that. And then the most important thing is, don't just rely on applying online and sitting back and waiting for a call for an interview, because your chances are only 2%. On a scale of 1 to 100, only 2% chance of getting called for an interview, even if you're in that top 10%. So it's really important to reach out to a person. Your percentage chance goes up much higher if a second level connection at the company vouches for you and forwards on your resume to the recruiting leader or the recruiter that posted the job. And if you don't know anybody at the company, I highly recommend, and this is based on my experience working as a recruiter, I highly recommend you pick up the phone and call the recruiter. Don't worry that, oh, I might be bothering them. That was music to my ears. If I was a recruiter and I was having a tough day, I had a job opening and I couldn't find the right candidate, and there were 300 candidates out there and they weren't qualified. If I got a phone call like this, if somebody called and said, "Hi, I'm Carol. I wanted to introduce myself. I just applied for your corporate recruiting position. I have 5 years of experience and I've hired for accounting and finance personnel. Be happy to have a conversation." Whenever I receive a phone call like that, I would always talk to the person. And the examples I can think of, those are the people we hired, because that shows initiative and it shows planning. And the words that I was listening for was, "I meet all of your requirements." Those are golden words. So I highly recommend reaching out to a person. In the participant box, give me a green check mark if you've ever done this, reached out to a person once you've applied online. If you've ever done that, give me a green check mark. I think I saw one. And somebody said no. So I'd recommend trying it. Doesn't hurt to try. And it can really help get your attention. In fact, I've read some statistics, your chances go up to 50% if somebody refers you. And with me as a recruiter, goes up really high if I get a great phone call like that. Okay, good. And then here is the new information I found this week. This is from Glassdoor, and they had, yes.
Somebody in the chat box put down yes, but by emailing, not calling. And emailing is not effective because you're going to be one of 100 emails that recruiter may get during the day. They may not get a lot of phone calls. So Carol, what would you prefer to get?
I love getting phone calls. And if you don't know the recruiter's number or the recruiter's name, do some research. And if you don't know the recruiter's name, look for the leader's name and just call the main number for that company and ask to be connected with that person. Now, today's world, they'll probably connect you to their cell phone and you'll probably get their voice message, mail, but leave an impactful 10 to 15 second voicemail for that. So I do recommend that. That would cause you to stand out. You could always follow up with a LinkedIn or an email saying, I just left you a voice message to let you know I applied for this position, requisition number, leave that. And again, use those golden words. I meet all of the requirements in your job. Not that I really want your job or I'm really interested, but I meet your requirements. And how do you go about getting that number? Yeah, when I was a recruiter, I learned all these tricks. I mean, you can just look at their website. Usually there's a contact number, an 800 number. You know, just Google, just search. And usually you can find out a main phone number and call that and then ask for the name of the person. So you will need a name. So either the name that was posted on LinkedIn, the name of that recruiter. If you don't have that, search on LinkedIn and see if you can find a recruiting manager name. And if you don't know how to do those searches on LinkedIn, I highly recommend going to one of Jeff's Tuesday sessions, because a lot of those sessions on LinkedIn at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays, they show you how to search for people within a company. So I'd highly recommend that. Hopefully that answered your question. So now I'll talk about the 10 resume tips that you may not have heard before. One is only include your address or really city. We don't recommend using street addresses anymore because there have been some legal issues associated with that. But only include your city if it works in your favor. For example, if you live in the Dallas area and you're looking for a job in the Dallas area, that would work in your favor because recruiters tend to want to hire and talk to local people because they get worried about relo. Now, if you really have a plan to move someplace like Portland, Oregon, you really want to do that, you may just want to leave it off your resume and just leave it open. And their other tip is be a name dropper. If you've done some great work, some accounting work or marketing work for a client and it's a recognizable name, use it in your resume, as long as it's okay with that company for you to include the name of the company in your resume. And utilize your performance review information. I thought this was a good suggestion. If you either have records of previous performance reviews or think back to what your previous leaders have said about you in terms of your best attributes and your best accomplishments, that might help you think of accomplishments and also areas of expertise that you can highlight on your resume. And don't go overboard with keywords. This is kind of a balancing act. We say, you know, align your resume to the keywords in the job description, but don't go overboard. Don't cut and paste sentences out of the job description. And I've even heard from recruiters, don't cut and paste and put it in white text. That was a trick that was recommended a few years ago, but recruiters can see that now and they know you're just tricking the system. So don't go overboard. Recruiters can spot keyword stuffing if you do it too much. So a little bit of a balancing act there. And use common sense regarding your email address. Like, for example, mine is Brickell.Carol. It's my name, so it looks professional. Brickell was taken, so I took the reverse. I wouldn't put something like Carol's from Iowa or something, you know, or something weird. Do something professional relating to your name so it looks like a professional email. City and zip code, yes, somebody mentioned. And yeah, it's good to put your city. A lot of people like to put in zip codes. Some don't, it's personal choice. Some recruiters search on zip codes, so it can be beneficial. Okay. And when it comes to skills, quality over quantity. And we'll be talking about a resume format at the top of your resume, highlighting key skills or areas of expertise. I've seen some people list 20, 30 skills, and it's just too many for somebody to absorb. So the magic number we like to recommend is 9 or maybe 12 for highly technical jobs. And choose to share social accounts strategically. We're starting to see more and more people are including links to various social media accounts like LinkedIn, but you may not want to include things like Facebook or Twitter maybe. So be careful about that. And you can use hobbies to your advantage. Now you may not want to list every hobby in your resume, like, I don't know, some hobbies wouldn't be applicable, but some really show dedication. Like if you're a marathon runner, I mean, that shows dedication and accomplishment. If you've run a marathon or something like that, or something that would be applicable to the job that you're applying to. I did a lot of community service, and I was applying to companies that was part of their core values was community outreach. And I swear, I think one of the jobs I got was because of that. And then skip these generic descriptors that everybody uses. And these are descriptions that everybody should have. Things like being hardworking and self-motivating and detail-oriented. Skip those. And unless they say we need somebody who has a high attention to detail in the job description, maybe use it. But if they don't use these overused words, please skip those and focus on the skills that are required for the job, the professional skills like monthly reporting or if it's learning and development, instructional design, or things that are hard professional skills, and also skills that would really set you apart from others. And then keep an accomplishment journal, again, of accolades that you've received or accomplishments, and that'll help you compile your resume or keep updating your resume. In fact, Jeff, I know you like to recommend, and I think this is a great idea, create a master resume that might be 5 pages long of everything you've done, and then you can pick and choose when you're applying for a job, and then just pick out the key skills and the key accomplishments relating to the job that you're applying to, and that resume should only be about 2 pages. Okay. And here's some characteristics of good resumes. You want to make it easy for the ATS system recruiters to make sure you're a good match for the job. Make sure the formatting's nice and clean, lots of white space, not too heavy in the wording. Overall length we've talked about 2 is kind of the sweet spot. There are some exceptions for more technical jobs. A number of years, I think we have a polling question for this one. And I'm interested in having people select which one you prefer for you. And it is a choice. And when you're hearing from people like me giving you advice, it's up to you to choose what piece of advice works for you or not. And so these are 3 choices regarding how many years of experience to show on your resume, especially for those of us that may have more than 35 years of experience. Now, when I was applying for a job at the age of 60, I was networking with people I knew, and I did the first option. I showed everything because they knew I'd worked at EDS a long time, so I just put it out there, but I still kept my resume to 2 pages. And then as a recruiter, I saw a lot of resumes that were chopped off after the most recent 10 or 15 years, and they looked chopped off. It looked like something was missing, like something was being hidden. And it would cause confusion in interviews when I would ask questions and they would refer to a company that wasn't on the resume. And I'd ask, okay, where is that? And they'd say, oh, that was so long ago. And some people even said, I didn't want to show my age. People would say that in interviews and screening interviews with me as a recruiter. And so that would cause confusion. So what I found hiring managers really like is they like to see details of the most recent, maybe 10, 15, or maybe even the most recent 20 years, and then have a section called prior relevant experience. And there on your resume, you can just list the company names and your job titles, and you don't have to put the dates if you don't want to. On LinkedIn and on the application, you may have to, but on your resume, you don't have to. And somebody said 8, B. Oh, B, that's a B. Thank you. Okay, option B. Yeah, when I see those, it looks like, and hiring managers go, wait, what's the full story with this person? So think about it and choose what's best for you. And it might be that you have different versions based on who you're talking to as well. And how to fill a gap. I get this question more and more, especially if somebody was laid off last year in 2019, and then the pandemic hit at the beginning of this year. and it's harder to find a job. And so the recent gap is growing. What I recommend is get out there. It's good for your spirit to get out there and do some volunteer work. It's good for your skills, and it's also good for your resume to get out there and do some volunteer work or some even pro bono consulting. And that way you can fill your gap on your resume and put, instead of a recent company name, it could have a title such as community leadership or consulting, even if it's pro bono consulting, or continuing education if you've gotten certification or gone through some critical training that's really applicable to the jobs that you're applying to, and then add a few bullets. And I'll show an example. This is kind of just based on the type of work I do. If I were trying to fill a gap at the top of my resume, I would put community leadership and consulting. And I say community leadership. You don't want to just list if you're just a part of a networking group or attend some meetings, but when you're really taking a leadership role or volunteering to do something. And my first bullet is I serve as a panelist and coach for the Dallas Pit Crew. And the second one is I provided consulting services to a local nonprofit organization on how to prepare and conduct job interviews. Now, it was a church and it was pro bono, but I was asked to come in and do some consulting. So it's true. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully those ideas are helpful. If that's helpful, give me a green check mark if that's kind of a helpful way to fill a gap. And then also if you have gaps between jobs on your resume. I've got a few people like that. If you don't like that idea, give me a red X. I don't see any red X's. Y'all are being nice. That's good. Thank you. Okay, now we'll quickly run through the components of a resume, and then we'll look at a couple of examples. Good. We'll talk about the heading, the summary, the optional key accomplishment section, professional experience, and then the previous relevant experience, if you choose to do that, education and software. And there may be other components like publications or certifications, but these are some of the key components. And the format that I'm talking about is one that I designed when I was a recruiter and I was helping to present people's resumes to hiring managers. I created this template based on feedback I was getting from hiring managers regarding what they liked to see and what they didn't like. And also, when I got certified, this is very similar to the template they used. And it's also similar to one of the templates that are used here in the DFW area in the career transition workshops that are taught. So the heading, you want to be real clean with your name right there at the top, and 4 types of contact information. Phone number, your city, zip code if you'd like, city, state, zip code, your professional looking email address with your name in it, and your LinkedIn URL. And you don't need to include, in fact, it's not recommended to include your street address, as we've mentioned. And my favorite part is the summary at the top of your resume. And if you've been a certain title and you're applying to a job with that title, put that right up front and center so that recruiter sees, oh good, this is the type of person we're looking for. So this is an example of somebody who's been a business analyst applying for business analyst roles. Put that front and center. In this opening summary paragraph, if it's any more than 3 lines, they probably won't read it. So keep it very short and brief. It's an executive summary of who you are in relation to that job you're applying to. So you may want to pick up a few key phrases that they're using. And then areas of expertise. Those of us in the pit crew kind of like that title. It's kind of a new title rather than core competencies or key skills. Areas of expertise. Recommend not putting that in a table because it'll mess up the applicant tracking system. I just use tabs, and recommend 9 of those. That's kind of the sweet spot. And then if you're applying for jobs where achievements of quantitative results or targets is important, showing a track record of achieving targets. If you're in sales, business development, or even recruiting or some financial roles. And somebody asked me how do ATS systems interpret tabs? I think they're okay because it's just part of what's on the keyboard. So I'm pretty sure they're okay. I've not heard of any issues with using tabs. If anybody has, please let me know. I learn something new every day. So good. Thanks for that question. So the accomplishment section I see used for people that are more in like sales roles, business development roles that have a lot of quantitative achievement requirements. And then in your professional experience, you want this really clean with the company name. And on that same line with the company name, have the full length of time you're at that company. And then you want to make sure it's easy to read and make sure your verbs are parallel or consistent and they're in the appropriate tense. So a job that's in the past, all those verbs should end in ED and be in the past. I can't tell you how many resumes where I've seen them all mixed up with present, past tense, ing, and I've seen hiring managers throw out those resumes because it doesn't show an attention to detail. And for every job, I'd limit it to between 5 to 8 bullets approximately. If it's more than 10, they won't get read. And they should focus on results and not read like a job description. And many of you may have seen this example before, but I'll walk through it again because I cover this and help people with this every time I do a coaching session with somebody regarding their resume. We ask the question, so what? For the bullet points, especially in the most recent year or recent job, especially that one. You want to walk through your bullet points and say, so what? What was the result? What was the outcome? And this is an example for somebody who was a business analyst. They had a pretty good bullet that said they developed a Visual Basic program to automate the conversion and migration of data. But ask the question, so what? What was the result? What was the outcome? And then he thought, he goes, actually there was an outcome. They reduced data migration time and they eliminated errors and increased the stakeholder and client confidence. So he decided to rewrite that bullet using stronger verbs at the beginning, focusing on the results. That he reduced the data migration time, he eliminated errors and increased stakeholder confidence by developing that Visual Basic program. So that's an example of how you can do that. Okay, I'm looking at a question in the chat. In the period section of the job year and month is often required. Job year and month. Yes, usually in the applicant tracking systems, they do require month and year. And also I think LinkedIn may require that as well. However, on your resume, you don't have to show the month and year, and it looks cleaner, especially if you have a lot of years of experience and have been with companies for many years, not to include the month and year. So it's really up to you. And you can see this example, I did not include months and years in the resume. Now you might be required to enter that in the tracking system. And if you've had multiple roles at a company, this is the recommended format. Put the company name and the location in bold, and then write justified, put the full time you're at that company in bold, write justified. And then for your jobs, individual jobs, put the dates in parentheses and don't write justify those. Very often I see people doing the opposite where they don't have the full length of time they're at the company, but they have the dates for individual jobs outright justified. So it makes it look like they hopped from job to job to job to job. And it takes me a few seconds as a recruiter to figure out, oh, that's the same company. So you don't want to waste valuable seconds with the recruiter because they spend on average 7.4 seconds looking at a resume. And then if you have a company that's changed names or been acquired, there's a couple different options for you. And again, you can choose what works best for you and maybe based on what people know about that company. You can either say the current name of the company followed by the old name or the other way around, the old name with the date of the merger or acquisition. And my example is when I retired from HP Enterprise Services in 2012, I was working for HP Enterprise Services and I put formerly EDS because they acquired EDS. Or I could have said, if people are more familiar with EDS, I could have said EDS acquired by Hewlett Packard. And they were acquired in 2008. And then be sure to list your degrees. Recruiters, if a degree is required for the position, that's one of the first things we look at. We look for that degree. And then software skills, if there are certain software requirements, like if I'm looking for somebody with Visual Studio, And I'll be looking for that in the software skills. So hopefully that's helpful. And then I'm going to turn on annotation. Good, and we've also posted the sample resume template or sample resume in the chat box so you can use that. And somebody asked if we had an available template. We do, and we've shared it. So I'm going to turn on this fancy Zoom annotator. I'm going to annotate with circles. And on the left, you see a job description for a business analyst. And what I recommend to everyone, and everyone that I coach, and every time I do a session, I can't overemphasize the importance of taking a few minutes and really reading the job description and look for the key requirements for the job and the key skills that they're looking for. And in this job description, they're looking for somebody who can document business requirements and somebody who's innovative, yes, and can improve processes, and be sure that you're using those words in your resume. And look down in the lower part of a job description. It might say qualifications or requirements, or here's what you need to bring to the job. Look for the skills that are required. And they're looking for people with Agile or Scrum methodologies. Be sure, if you've got that, highlight that on your resume. And if you've got Visual Studio, highlight that as well. And in today's world, in the pandemic, I really recommend to people to focus on jobs where you meet 90% of the requirements, because you're going to be competing with people that meet 90 and 100% of the requirements. And it is a little more competitive right now. So you want to focus on that and make sure your resume shows that. So hopefully that's helpful. Give me a green check mark if you like this slide, if this is helpful to illustrate this example. That's another green check marks out there. Great. Yeah, I spent some time putting the slide together just to illustrate this example, because I spend quite a bit of time when I'm coaching people one-on-one on this concept. And the value of looking at that job description is so important. And I've had this happen multiple times when once I've started studying a job description with somebody, at the end of it, I'll say, okay, do you meet all those requirements? Do you want to apply for that job? They'll say, actually, no, I don't. And maybe I shouldn't waste my time. And so it's really important, because you can look at the title and think, oh, that's the kind of job I'd apply to. But once you really dig into it, maybe not. You want to focus your time wisely. Okay, good. So now at this time, I will open it up to questions and stop sharing, and we will share a couple of examples. Let me see, I'm gonna have to do something here real quick. Let's see, I'm gonna have to pull up my folder real quick. So go ahead and type in any questions, and Jeff, let me know if there's any questions that came in through chat and through FaceTime live. I'm pulling up the sample resumes for today. Okay. Sorry, it takes a couple of.
So one of the questions that came up, if you have a bachelor's degree, but in another field than your field that you're looking for, is it good or bad to list the major?
It's in a different field. Bachelor's degree. It depends. You know, it's for me to answer.
Yeah, I would say if the bachelor's degree is in the last 5 years, yeah, it may make a difference. But if the bachelor's degree was 20 years ago, who cares? I mean, what you learned 20 years ago probably doesn't relate to what you're doing now. I mean, I have a meteorology and a broadcasting degree. It has nothing to do with what I do now. So, you know, it just shows that you were able to complete, you know, get your degree. That's all it shows.
Yeah, yeah. And many jobs do require a bachelor's degree. Good. So can you see the resume okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. And it came up in a different place. It's on my other screen. So if you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my second monitor. And so what I'm going to do now for all of our participants is I'm going to scroll down the resume, and I want you all to look at it and type in some keywords into chat. If there's anything that you like about the resume, or if you have any suggestions to make it even better. So I'm going to scroll down almost as if we are, as if we're looking at it, okay, as a recruiter. I'm just going to slide it over here real quick, okay, so I can fit it on the screen. Excuse me as I'm kind of manipulating my screen here. So I'm going to scroll down. We've got the contact information and a summary, professional experience. Okay. And it looks like they had multiple jobs. Maybe. Okay. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Freeman. Okay. So that's the company. Okay, I see. And then another company. Lots, really long longevity at the companies. Good, good. And it does go on to a third page. Got your education, Master of Arts degree theater, and yeah, here's that drama and theater. If that's applicable to the job, you know, that's okay. And then awards. Look at all those awards. That's kind of cool. Okay. So if you have any comments about this resume, feel free to type them in the chat box. And somebody asked about the past experience in past tense. Yes, that's so important for past. Well, this could be present, it looks like. So usually the job or task you're doing that's in the present tense is at the top of your resume. This one shows some things you did in 2017 to 2019 and everything's written in the past tense. But then this one has.
Yeah, McCormick Place needs to be moved up to the first, and he's become the first job.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
And then that second job, or the Marriott Marquis, all those need to be past tense, like interfaced with the D, coordinated with the D, supervised with the D. I mean, all those words need to be past tense.
Yes. Yes. If they were in the past, yes.
And I'm not a fan of smaller uppercase letters. I don't know about you, like for qualified and professional experience. I think I'd rather see it upper and lowercase. I don't know.
Yes, it's easier to read. Yes, if it is upper lower.
And it also looks like the spacing has been changed on it too. Some special, you've extended the spacing on it.
For the word qualifications?
Yeah, for that and professional experience. There's extra spacing between, I don't know, maybe it's just because of the upper lowercase.
Yes, and it's underlined, so yeah, the Q wouldn't pick up on an ATS system. And then also in the contact information, you can take out the street address, definitely, and I would add your LinkedIn URL text, the text for your URL. And you don't need to say cell phone because nowadays everybody uses cell phones. So
you probably don't need to P your middle initial on there because this is not a legal document. What do you want us to call you? You want us to call you Brian P or just Brian? If, you know, put in whatever you want us to call you.
Yes, I think that's very important. Yeah, put the name. Otherwise, it can cause confusion. I've got a couple of comments. Yeah, somebody said drop the street address. Consider how many people did you supervise in your most recent experience?
That would be good.
That can be good. However, if you only supervise 2 people and you're applying for a job or you're going to be supervising 20, you may want to just leave that out. I learned that yesterday. Okay. Somebody learned something yesterday. I don't know what it was, but they thought what we said made sense. And you will hear different pieces of advice based on different perspectives and experiences. So I'm just sharing with you my perspective based on working as a recruiter and presenting resumes to hiring managers and being a hiring manager. Okay. Oh, and then the street address. And actually the main reason I suggest not putting in the street address, there have been some employment law issues, some lawsuits based on people feeling like they weren't getting hired because of their street address. So that's the primary reason, but also stalkers, somebody wrote. And I think I'd recommend cleaning this up somehow where it could, because it took me a minute to figure out if these were two different companies or two different jobs, and because and this second one goes out all the way to the right. I don't know if there's a way to condense
Well,
that.
I think it should not be bold. I think if you were to make Freeman AV Encore Event Technologies the bold thing,
Bold.
and then make the Marriott Marquis, the Hyatt Regency, make those sub jobs not bold, I think that would probably, the boldness is what's bringing you to thinking that's the most important thing, and I don't think
You're right. You're absolutely correct. That's what made me think that's a different company, because it was bolded, or the company name was not bolded. Yeah. Yes.
you want to show longevity, and by showing that, you know, 2008 to present, that's showing longevity.
Yes. Yes. Now in the template I share, I do have the titles in bold, but depending on how it looks, you can decide, and maybe even delete the space in between, because I had to kind of look the space between Freeman, the line space, and the word director. That might help a little. And I don't know if you can shorten this since it's all, I don't know.
Could I go to 2 lines maybe? That way it wouldn't stick out as much. If you move the Marriott Marquis Chicago underneath Director of Event Technologies, that would pull that back in, since you're already on 3 pages anyway. And then, yeah,
That's a good idea. Okay, those are good. Okay, and then I'd put this in bold, and like Jeff said, I'd make this upper lowercase, not all uppercase, for the name of the company. It's harder to read. Lots of different roles there.
and I think also you need to play the so what game with all these bullet points.
Yes.
You manage, you managed AV largest convention hotel in the Midwest. Well, all right, you have a so what, but I would maybe moved, achieved revenues. I would move
that's
8 million first, because by putting that number on the very left-hand side or the right-hand side of the paper, the eye misses it. Where if you got it towards the middle somewhere, it would stand out more. So I would maybe
have that be the very first. Yeah, achieved gross revenues of 8 million through
achieved it by managing the audiovisual.
by managing.
Right. Anytime you have numbers and percent signs and stuff, you want that in like the middle third of a resume, because it will pull your eye into it, because it's not A through Z.
Okay. And then somebody said 3 or 5 bullets per paragraph. I recommend 5 or so for the most recent job or 2. After that, 3 is a good number, 3 to 5 for really critical jobs. Okay. Somebody's in the waiting room. I'll admit them.
Oh, okay.
Is that the next session or something? I don't know.
No, it's not the next session.
Okay. And then one final comment on this one. You may want to consider adding a title that says previous relevant experience, maybe before these last few jobs, and then just list those titles. And then you might be able to get this onto 2 pages. And the awards, you may just want, and to get it onto 2 pages, maybe just the most recent 5 or 6 awards. The ones that were back in the 1990s, maybe not. So that might be something you could do to get it onto 2 pages. And it looks like we're just running out of time. So the second person that submitted the resume, if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to spend a little time for you with you on your resume, or just send me your questions, and I'd be happy to help. Okay, so I think we're out of time.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, if anybody would like to connect with Carol, here is what her profile looks like on LinkedIn. Be sure to send a note. Just don't hit the connect and send the generic invitation. I will not connect with you if you send me the generic invitation. I don't know about Carol. What's your rule?
I've recently adopted your rule that people that send me notes, because I've had some nefarious situations that I won't go into detail.
So you're welcome to connect with us, but please send us a note that you saw us in today's presentation. You hate my striped shirt. you don't like my background, whatever it is, well, I don't really care, but just send me a note saying that how did we connect? Why should you connect? And that should be your rule of thumb every time you send a connection on LinkedIn. Just that's just all the time.
Thank you. That helps us. Yes.
Right, because in the future, if I go back and look up your profile, I can see what it was and where we first met, because it'll still be in the history of your LinkedIn connection. All right, come on, computer. For those people who are on Facebook, if you would like to get a copy of the sample resume and the sample T cover letter that we put in the Zoom chat box, you're welcome to send an email to webmaster@careerdfw.org. Just let me know what you're looking for, and I will get it to you. Usually it could be a couple days before I check that account. I don't check it every day. So if you'd like to get those documents, just send me an email, webmaster@careerdfw.org. Other programming we have coming up, I mentioned at the beginning of this, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Tomorrow morning, we have a very interesting presentation. We're going to have a short presentation on canva.com. Canva is a great way, if you're using the generic banner on LinkedIn, here's what we're going to talk about tomorrow is how to come up with a custom banner that'll look very easy, it's something easy that you can create and put it in your LinkedIn profile. So we'll have a presentation on that, and then we'll spend the rest of the time on open forum. We will answer any questions you have about your job search. So come prepared, ask a few questions. We really would appreciate it. Next Tuesday, I'm really excited to add Kurt Vandermatter to our LinkedIn lineup. As you know, currently, if you've been part of it, we have 3 different speakers. Kurt's going to be our 4th speaker to rotate in from now on. Kurt is a professional executive recruiter. He spends $20,000 a year with LinkedIn to use the recruiting package on LinkedIn, and he's going to open the doors and sort of share what he's looking for and how you can stand out to recruiters in the future. So it should be a very interesting presentation on Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon, the Frisco Career Transition Workshop, we'll be doing session number 4. It'll be all about interviewing. Next Wednesday, the Interviewing Wednesday seminar that we're on will be on session 10 of 13. We'll be discussing compensation and why did you leave your last job? 2 things that come up in every interview you ever get interviewed for. And then just as a reminder, these sessions will be recorded. All of them will be recorded. Today's will be recorded. They'll be on the Career FW Facebook page. They will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. This will be uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel in a couple hours. Please check each page. If you follow us on Facebook, if you click follow, every time we go live, you'll be your phone will give a little alert letting you know we're currently live. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, every time we upload a video, you'll get an email, I think, stating that here's the new video that just got updated. And if you're interested in watching it, you can do it in case you happen to miss it. If you're on the Career USA YouTube channel, if you click where the green arrow is, you'll see playlist, and up underneath it, you'll see several playlists that have been created. There's actually 6 or 7 of them now, which have been created. Underneath the list, if you're looking for effective resumes, click View Full Playlist, and then up will come a list of all the dates and everything we've done in the past since we started doing this in March. So just as a reminder, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Carol is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. We don't get paid to do this. We're here to help you land your next great opportunity. So we hope that when you do land your next opportunity, that you'll remember who we are, what we did, how we may have helped you. Make a donation. Help us to continue to help others in the future. I know 183,000 people applied for unemployment benefits last week. So there's more people out there every day looking for help. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. And if your company offers matching donations, please allow your donation to double in value. Look our name up, Career DFW. And if you don't see us, please, please, please reach out to me and I will get the name added to the list so your donation is doubled in value. So Carol, thank you. Everybody else, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow or one day next week. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Jeff, and bye, everyone. Have a good day.